A day in the life of a hedge fund analyst. This section is as incredibly authentic as I could possibly make it, including the same route I took to work, but more importantly, the same office I worked in the same building at Goldman Sachs in New York. And I wanted to show you the highs and lows in the day of a hedge fund analyst, from getting a stock right to getting a stock wrong. And so this analyst, Horatio, goes to the morning meeting at his company, which starts at 8 a.m. And this is typical for hedge funds. And in the morning meeting, the portfolio managers covering every sector will speak about the highlights from their sector. So for example, the industrials portfolio manager might talk about how Caterpillar or Komatsu had great earnings. The telecommunications analyst might talk about how their position in Vodafone is doing very well. The autos analyst might talk about Honda, etc. And we get to the technology portfolio manager, and in this case, it's Pam. And Horatio is an analyst working for Pam, the portfolio manager covering technology. And Horatio gets the opportunity to talk about a stock he's pitching on the long side, meaning one he wants to buy, which is LinkedIn. And he talks about fundamentals, valuation, technicals, and a catalyst, meaning the reason to invest at that point in time in LinkedIn. So this is as close to reality as possible. It's almost like it's a script from one of the hedge funds I worked at, one of the morning meetings at that hedge fund. And after the morning meeting, Horatio goes to a sell-side investment bank event. And this is a conference hosted by Sally, the sell-side analyst. And we'll cover the sell side later in this course, but what happens is there are lots of mutual funds and hedge funds in attendance at this hotel at this conference. And the CEO of a company called Oh I Get It, which is a real company, but it's not public. The CEO of that company is named Franklin, and he gets up and he talks about his company. And hypothetically speaking, assuming the company was public, he raises guidance. And what that means is he says that business is going better than expected, and he's allowed to do this because it's a public setting, meaning people are listening on a webcast on the open internet and in the audience, so it's fair game. So from a compliance perspective, everybody's got access to information at the same time. Doing the opposite is sometimes not legal. Okay, so Franklin raises guidance. He says business is great. And you can see Horatio, who can't keep his emotions in check. He jumps up and down. He's so happy because they own Franklin's stock. And so what Horatio does, the analyst in the hedge fund, he sends a text immediately to Pam, his portfolio manager, saying, buy more right away before the stock goes up too much. And it's exciting. And you can see by his reaction that he's having a very good day. Anyway, bottom line is, this is very authentic. I made it as close to reality as possible. I hope you enjoyed. If you have questions, as always, leave me a message in the course there. Thank you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Let's do a quick recap on what we saw there. Horatio, the hedge fund analyst, he gets up in the morning and he's watching television and you see that Google beats earnings, which is a position that they own. So he's very happy about that. And so he goes to work, he's psyched about it, and he shows up in the morning meeting. And Pam, who is his boss and portfolio manager, she gives an update on the tech portfolio. And of course, she mentions that Google killed it. They beat earnings, and looks like our analyst Horatio there is very happy, as he should be. He should keep his emotions in check, though. And so the GoPro short his stop loss, though. And so you could see by Horatio's face there, he's clearly upset with that. You can't win them all, right? And now he actually pitches another stock in the morning meeting. And he pitches LinkedIn. As you can see, it's a monopoly business. They don't have credible competition. And his portfolio manager, Pam, wants him to discuss fundamentals, valuation, catalysts, and technicals in that order. All right, so he talks about fundamentals, mentions the management team, which is always important. He talks about valuation. He gives his thoughts on the valuation of the company. And then he goes on and talks about a catalyst. Sorry for the bad joke there. And the catalyst is that they've got this cool new product coming out next week that investors are going to get excited about. And he tells Pam to make this a 5% position, which is a very big position for a hedge fund. Usually its maximum position size is 5% or a little bit more. And then he goes to a conference, which is hosted by a sell-side analyst named Sally. And this is what the sell side does. They offer these conferences, and if they add value, then the buy side, meaning the hedge funds or mutual funds, will trade through the sell side's trading floor, and they will pay them commissions. Okay, and so Sally has got one of her her companies that she covers called Oh I Get It Presenting, and so what happens is the CEO of Oh I Get It gets up and he presents, and he's presenting in a public setting. And he reads his disclosures first, of course. The lawyers make him do that. But in a public setting, he's allowed to update guidance because it's fair game. Everyone's listening on the webcast. And so he raises guidance in this event. And of course, you can see the very emotional and happy Horatio jumping up and down. Woo! And he contacts immediately his portfolio manager, Pam, and tells Pam, please buy the stock as soon as you can before everybody else does. Timing is everything, of course. And so you see that Pam buys the stock, and at the end of the day, Sally announces that the stock is up a lot, and she's kind of reminding everyone that she was also a proponent of that stock. You have to remind people of I guess, what your best calls are. No one will really know. And so we see here that this is the best day ever for Horatio, and in true Titanic form, he is the king of the world.